What are sequences? A sequence is an arrangement following a fixed pattern. And we have two types of sequences, arithmetic sequences and geometric sequences. In an arithmetic sequence, the transition from one term to the next one is done by adding or subtracting a fixed number. And in a geometric sequence, the transition from one term to the next one is achieved by multiplying or dividing by a fixed number. Let's take an example to make it clear. Suppose we're designing parking lots. We decided to make them in several rows. In the first row, we decide to have 4 parking spaces. Then in each subsequent row, we add 3 more spaces. So in the second row, there will be 7 spaces, then 10 in the third row, 13 in the fourth row, and so on. This forms a sequence where the difference between each row and the next is 3. If we were asked how many parking spaces there will be in the third row, we can quickly figure it out. 4 in the first one, 7 in the second, and 10 in the third. Now let's say the building is so large with a huge number of rows, and we are asked how many spaces there will be in row 97. At this point, we need a formula. Here it is in front of us. To use this formula, we need to know the difference between consecutive rows, which is 3. And the term that we want to find is when n is equal 97. We just substitute directly into the formula to get the result. Now let's reverse the scenario. Suppose we decide to have 200 parking spaces in the first row, and then to transition from one row to another, we subtract 5 spaces. So the second row will have 195 spaces, and the third row will have 190, and so on. This also forms an arithmetic sequence where the difference between each row and the next is minus 5. If we are asked to find the number of spaces in row 11, we again substitute into the formula with n is equal to 11 and the difference d is equal to minus 5. And get the result. Notice how this concept is similar to functions. Substituting n is like substituting x, which is the domain, and the result is like y or f of x. In fact, sequences are really functions where the domain is the natural numbers and the range is the result, in this case, the number of parking spaces in each row. This is a simple explanation of arithmetic sequences. In the next lesson, we will talk about geometric sequences.